my comments on relationship between Pakistan and Israel, it's a kind of a sensitive question. A sensitive question because it's a convenient punching bag with the politicians to accuse each other for being the Jewish agent and all. So this is a sensitive issue. And as regards the normalization of relations between Pakistan and Israel, one must factor in the causes that why we have not recognized Israel. Basically, it is because our principled stand, which was the principled stand of whole of the world earlier, apart from West and USA, that there has to be a solution to the Palestinian problem. State of Israel was carved out in after the Second World War for the Jews in Middle East, that is in Palestine. And the original inhabitants of Palestinians, gradually they have been marginalized. They have become pariahs in their own state. They have been evicted from their homes, their children being killed. This is all recorded. This is not fairy tale stories. So therefore, Pakistan took a principled stand that we will not recognize Israel unless there is a solution to a Palestinian problem. Then there is a historical fact that Jews have been massacred and marginalized and persecuted in history all along. But did Pakistanis do it? Or Muslims are also accused, but they had a wee bit of share in that. Mostly it was done by the Christians and the Romans. And in the recent past, it was recent history, it was done by the Nazis. They had Christian background, they are Europeans, they were not Pakistanis or Muslim. So we have certain historical facts which have kept us away from recognizing Israel. This is the historical facts. About this debate whether we should have normal relations with Israel or not, this is something because we have to then unshackle ourselves from the history and then move along. But that takes time. Let me talk about Israel first. Israel could have benefited a lot if we recognized it about 2-3 decades back, because Israel needed entry into the Muslim world, and we were then leaders of the Ummah, and we were a very vibrant member of the OIC and all. But over a period of time, now OIC is not that effective, and perhaps that advantage which Israel could have got is gone. They have already got it, and directly they have, overcome the resistance of the Arab world. It started with the US in waging war on Iraq and Libya, and Syria is in turmoil. So then the affluent part, UAE, Saudi Arabia, they are also gradually normalizing relations with Israel. Israel will get one advantage, that is that we are a Muslim country, a nuclear power with a power potential, military industrial base we have got. We are not an ordinary country, and with the CPEC coming, there are a number of economic and trade advantages Israel can get because we are a market. And so there is nothing to lose if in normalizing relations between Pakistan and Israel as far as Israel is concerned. Now coming to Pakistan, we will get advantage out of it. Number one, Israel and Jews have a strong lobby in USA, and USA we have been coalition partners. USA is an important country. They have a role to play in our region. So therefore, if we and then they have an influence in the monetary organizations also. So Pakistan will benefit from this relationship, particularly in terms of trade, economy, agriculture, and technology. So therefore, these are the advantages one would get. Yes, because we have grown up, we know history, and we have never been friends, Israel and Pakistan. Rather, in the Arab-Israel war, we have supported the Palestinians, we have Egyptians, and our Pakistan Air Force has fought against Israeli Air Force and very effectively. And conversely, Mossad, the Israeli premier intelligence agencies, have been operative against Pakistan along with India, collaborating with India, and they are still doing it. And I think they are the key advisors of Modi's fascist policies in occupied Kashmir. And I think they have taken not one, so many pages from the treatment of Palestinians by Israel for Kashmir. And they are implementing those philosophies and those strategies here. So that's the facts of history. A very interesting question. You see, in 1983, I was a young military officer and I had to travel internationally. So I worried that I would like to have halal food. And I was told by a Muslim scholar, I consulted him and he said that, oh, no problem, you can have kosher. So we can eat their kosher. It is halal for us, number one. Number two, we can have intermarriages. We can eat their food. So these are the common ground. We are people of faith, people of book. This is the common points between Jews and Muslims. Another interesting aspect which I would like to tell you is that who are the best friends of Pakistan? China. China recognized Israel in 1992 and they are having very strong economic and political relations. Your best friend is Turkey. They recognized Israel long time back. And the other friends, we have got Saudi Arabia and UAE. They are on their way to recognize and normalizing relations with Israel. So this is one aspect you must consider. People of Pakistan, the Muslims of subcontinent, when we were before 1947, and people who live in Pakistan, we have never been in direct conflict with Israel. We have not killed any Jews, and we have not massacred any Jews. We have no direct confrontation with them. And so is for Israel, though they have been trying to harm us in collaboration with India, but they don't have any direct conflict with us. So therefore, these are the timings, and when our political leadership and as a nation we take this decision to recognize Israel, only then we would. As I told you earlier, that it is a convenient punching bag. All the politicians, everybody accuses each other. But the fact of the matter is that the common people, they have an aversion to Israel and Jews, that they are anti-Islamic or anti-Pakistan, which has some truth to this. But let me tell you that if these politicians, this media and our leaders, they decide to recognize Israel, they'll condition the public opinion according to that. And they will find umpteen number of reasons justifying that we should recognize Israel. For the time being, the Pakistan government has clearly stated that this is the vision of our founder father Quaid-e-Azam, that unless the problem of Palestinian is resolved, we are not going to recognize Israel. And for the time being, this is good and we should continue doing that. But Pakistan should tailor its policies according to its national interest. When we feel that it is in our national interest that we should recognize Israel or normalize relationship with Israel, we'll do that. But not under pressure. Not when Israeli agencies and Israel is collaborating with India to destabilize Pakistan. And they have to lay their hands off from this. So there will be certain conditions. We are not like other Arab states. We are Pakistan. We will see when is it time to normalize relationship. And I think there would be keenness from Israel and keenness from Pakistan also to normalize relationships. And the time would come, then we'll see what is to be done.